All right, so welcome back. Hope everybody had a good weekend from wherever you're, or spending your time off from your work week. Hope everybody's having a good time back at their computers on Monday. I'm sure the first thing on everybody's mind as they pulled up their phone when they woke up this morning is, why are the cryptocurrency prices just going down like crazy? All right, Bitcoin, Ether, every other top 10 coin and below on CoinGecko seems like it's having a really bad morning. So we're going to talk about that. Let's see here. Somebody says they can't see anything on the stream here. Let's make sure everybody can see me okay? We're good? We're good? So we're going to talk about that. We got some other news to cover. More drama going on with the Binance Smart Chain, especially in the Ethereum community. So we got a lot to cover this morning. So before we get into that, if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory. On this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So before we get it, so if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to learn how to become a blockchain master step by step from start to finish, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. All right, so it looks like we had a little choppy start there at the beginning. Sorry, everybody. We're having just want to make sure that we have all our technical difficulties ironed out with the live stream. It's been kind of, experiment to get out there, test and prod, as they say, get some feedback, see what works, see what doesn't. But I think we're getting a lot of the kinks ironed out, so I appreciate your patience. Where's my laser eyes? My laser eyes are my Twitter account. So let's go ahead and jump into the jump into the prices, because I'm sure that's what a lot of people are worrying about. So I'll give you my outlook on this. As always, somebody says, talk about EIP. Yeah, we can probably talk about EIP later on in the stream. Let's jump and look at the updates though. So I'm sure the first thing on everybody's mind are the prices. I'll give you my thoughts on this. As always, I'm not a trader. I'm a big TA guy. I personally hold a lot of this stuff for the long term. So I'm just gonna tell you how I feel about it. Kind of what my intuition tells me from watching these markets for a long time. Looking at some metrics, okay? So we'll start off with just Ether price, because it did a very similar thing to Bitcoin, okay? So, Ether came up. We hit $2,000, went past it, got a little bit rejected, right? And we've seen a correction, kind of a sharp correction over the past few hours for sure. So I've been talking about this on my Twitter, right before we hit 2K, I was sensing like, I think we're going to see 2K pretty soon. That happened within 2 days of my assumption. And then as soon as we hit 2K, I was thinking like, it would not surprise me if we had a sharp correction pretty soon, just because we've been going strong for a solid 90 days, right? Not 90 days, sorry. Solid, 45 days, month and a half. And, when we see these big runs like this, basically when everybody's excited and thinks it's up only, that's typically when you see some sort of correction, whether it's a short-term correction, with a long-term correction. Like I said, not a big trader, not a big TA guy, but that's just what tends to happen. Okay, we saw that with Bitcoin last month, all right? When we were looking at, the Bitcoin price, let's see here. Early in January, saw a big rise. We got a little crazy, and then we cooled off for a little while. We got a big rise, and we see this correction, and we're going to see if we're going to cool off for a little while, or if this dip's going to get gobbled up, or we're going to keep trending higher. Let's take a look at what's happened in the past few hours here. We dipped hard. We saw people jumping in on those buy orders. We don't know that's necessarily going to send us back to the levels that we were at before. Here's what I would like to happen, to tell you the truth. I think I would like to see some short-term cool-off so that we can trend higher for longer. So I'll tell you why. If you look at Glassnode, you look at Nupal, we're getting pretty close to euphoria. All right, let me just pull up the actual individual chart. I'm sorry. Let me go back to pull up today's date. Sorry, I need to reset my chart here. But the whole point, the big picture is we're getting pretty close to the euphoria chart. And unless we get some sort of cool off and we blast off straight into that, that's probably going to put a theoretical cap on the actual price ceiling of something like Bitcoin, assuming that the model is accurate, assuming that it still holds true for this market, assuming that we're still in the cycle phase that everybody thinks we are. Don't forget, a lot of people's outlook on what they think is going to happen in the cryptocurrency markets is based on a very limited history of this entire asset class. And it's based on a bunch of assumptions, okay? And if any of those assumptions is wrong, it can completely invalidate your thesis. It can completely invalidate any model that you use to try to predict what's going to happen in the future. You know, as always, I don't try to predict things with a really specific degree of accuracy. I don't try to say like, hey, this is going to be this price by this date. This is going to be, you know, this price ever. It's more about like bigger picture. I think this is going to have a positive outlook, and it's going to be more positive than the alternatives on the table. So I'll pull up Nupal here. I'll show you. So basically, you know, on our Nupal chart, we're getting pretty close to this blue line here, right? I would like to see us back off from that so we can range higher, because if we drop, it basically resets the amount of net unrealized profit and it raises the price ceiling, assuming that we still follow those general guidelines, right? We want EIP 1559. Yes, I want EIP 1559. So we'll talk about that here in a second. So another thing to consider is March is historically a choppy month for Bitcoin, okay? So I'll pull this up on the screen. Not a choppy month, but historically a kind of bad month. So if you look at monthly returns, every year in the past, not every year, but many years in the past, you know, March has been negative or red. There's a couple exceptions here, and we're going to see if we hold true this time. I don't know, to tell you the truth, but this is what the data says in the past. Of course, January is also historically a bad month for Bitcoin, but it was not a bad month for Bitcoin this year, right? So we'll see. I mean, there are more Marches in the past that were bad than more Januaries that were bad in the past. I mean, almost every March was bad in the past for Bitcoin. So we'll see if that holds true again. It wouldn't surprise me, honestly, to tell you the truth, just because we've been going up like crazy. Right? This is not normal. And I mean, if we just went blast off from here, it wouldn't surprise me if we corrected. Now, like I said, or corrected, you know, big time for a long time. Basically, like if we just doubled from here in a matter of weeks, it wouldn't surprise me if that was a long-term top. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen, but I'm just saying that would not surprise me. If after that, it would surprise me if that happened, but what I'm saying is, would that surprise me after that happened if that was a, you know, if we cooled off for a long time after that. So a couple different viewpoints on this. You know, some people, I see people debating about this online. Some people talking about, hey, you know, this time is different because cryptocurrencies have such limited history, right? Because it's a brand new asset class, because we don't totally know how they work, as for how the prices really work. I mean, I'll explain what I mean by that in a second. We're dividing off into two camps. One camp says this time is different, that the cycles are going away, that we're on a sort of super cycle or a long-term uptrend that won't be like the previous boom and bust cycles, okay? That's one camp. The other camp says, no, it's basically going to be like last time. We're going to see a big euphoric rise, it's going to crash, and we're going to see, you know, a big pullback. Maybe less of a pullback in something like Bitcoin, maybe less of a pullback in something like Ether, maybe an incredibly hard pullback in everything else, or lots of other things. Part of the theory in that is that, you know, Bitcoin experiences diminishing returns in its pullback because it's becoming bigger, more mature, larger market cap, that the correction will be shallower. You know, maybe instead of 70% correction, it's a 50% correction because it's had so many corrections and its market cap is large. And because Ether had a big correction last time and its market correction will be larger, maybe the Ether correction will be less. So instead of like a 90% correction, it's a 60, 70%. But the theory inside of there too, or the thesis, I would say, is a lot of the brand new stuff, the sort of low cap alts, will probably, if it's their first bull cycle, will likely correct really, really hard. So those are the theories inside of the boom and bust cycle hypothesis. Me personally, I think the boom and bust cycle is the most likely scenario. I don't have a crystal ball. Nobody's got a crystal ball. And that's the thing you have to always keep in mind is no matter how confident somebody appears on social media or somebody in front of a camera, no matter how smart they look or appear, nobody knows for sure. So we're trying to deal with likelihood. That's how I like to deal with this. Really broad brush strokes with less specifics. What's likely to happen? Well, what's likely to happen is history will not necessarily repeat itself, but that the behavior will be somewhat similar this time. That's what I personally think. That's at least what I'm betting on. If I'm proven wrong, great. But I would rather prepare for that than prepare for, than not prepare and just expect up only forever, which I think is really unlikely to happen. So we'll see. Read up on theory of creative destruction. Okay. Does this mean gas prices will finally go down? So if the gas price if the actual transaction cost could go down, the gas price, if the demand for the network stays the same or decreases and the price of Ether goes down, then the actual end transaction cost could go down. Somebody said long game. Yep, I'm long game as well. So let's look at a couple of pieces of news. Something I think is also affecting the Ether price, or is having a factor. So Ethereum monthly mining revenue reaches all-time high over $1 billion in February. Okay. So to me, this has some effect on the price of Ether in the sense of sell pressure. Okay. Because think about it. Miners are running the Ethereum network. They're getting paid really well right now. And they're just, a lot of them are taking Ether, sending it to exchange, dumping it for cash. They got to pay for their mining hardware. I mean, that makes sense. They're running businesses. It's just where the incentives are. I'm not saying miners are bad. They have to run the network. But I think it is a factor on the price of Ether. So yeah, it's sell pressure. It's hard to know how much of a factor, but it'll be really interesting to see what happens when Ethereum transitions to proof of stake, because you have to think about the incentives, right? The incentive in proof of stake is to hold Ether or hold a large amount of Ether, because you have to hold 32 Ether in order to become a validator. You have to stake it to the network. You lock it up so it's not circulating anymore. All right. Now, there will be some sell pressure on the staking rewards that come in. That's totally true. However, you have to hold, you still have to have skin in the game. You have to hold Ether and lock up a certain amount of the supply in order to be eligible to sell your newly issued Ether. Whereas miners don't have to do that. They just have mining hardware. They don't have to hold the cryptocurrency itself and take it out of circulation in order to stake. So we'll see what that does with the price of Ether whenever we fully transition to Ethereum 2.0. Now, that being said, there is a certain amount of Ether right now. Let's actually look up on Glassnode. That's locked up for Ethereum 2.0 that is not going anywhere anytime soon. So basically, ETH 2.0 exists right now in phase 0 on a brand new blockchain that pretty much nobody can use. There's a one-way street to ETH 2.0. If you want to become an Ethereum 2.0 validator, you can take ETH 1, send it to the ETH 2.0 deposit contract, and lock it up until we exit out of this phase in order to start earning passive income rewards. Now, you'll start earning them now, okay, but you can't withdraw it. So I actually want to take a look at what the statistics on the validators right here. So I can't, it's really hard for me to, sometimes I get a little hard for me to navigate this live. So I don't have the numbers exactly right in front of me. My account's a little messed up. I'll go and fix that later. But the number of validators has still been steadily increasing, which is also great because there's a high degree of confidence in the Ethereum 2.0 network. People wanting to move over there, which I'm super excited about. So let's talk about the next thing, which is layer 2 scaling for ETH, because somebody asked about EAP 1559. This is somewhat related, okay? So we talked last week about the drama with Binance Smart Chain, coming onto the scene. There's a lot of drama about this going on Twitter. People saying like, hey, is Binance Smart Chain an Ethereum killer? Everybody got really excited because, BNB went up like crazy. It became the number 3 market cap cryptocurrency. It's kind of crazy how people's psychology works. They basically think a technology is successful or not based on the price of the cryptocurrency behind it going up. You know what I mean? I think a lot more people just like watched BNB price action rather than actually went to Binance Smart Chain and used the apps or something like that. It's just kind of human nature. It's just how these markets tend to work. But, we talked about that. You can go back and check out that live stream from Friday where I kind of outlined in detail sort of my thoughts on Binance Smart Chain. What I think is going to happen is, let's just do a quick recap. Basically, Binance Smart Chain's been around for a while, started getting a lot of traction last year. And then recently with the Ethereum gas fees being so high, a lot of users and liquidity have moved over to Binance Smart Chain for cheaper transactions, to do things like yield farming, swap on Pancake Swap, all that kind of stuff. So Binance Smart Chain is a fork of Ethereum. It basically, the very simplified explanation is it basically changes some settings on Ethereum to achieve those cheaper transaction fees at the cost of decentralization. So Binance Smart Chain is not really decentralized in the same way the Ethereum network is, which is essentially a core value of Ethereum and is a compromise it does not want to make. Okay, so Binance Smart Chain and Ethereum are not equals by any stretch of the imagination in terms of the long-term benefits. That being said, I'm not just sitting here hating on Binance Smart Chain or anything like that. I'm just trying to give you the transparent reality underneath, right, from a technical perspective. So I think this is going to happen again. I think we're going to see more of these pop up. Maybe not a ton, all right, but I don't think this is the last EVM fork sort of quote unquote competitor that we're going to see pop up before all the Ethereum layer 2 solutions go live for a couple reasons. Think about it. I mean, we've got these other chains out there that have kind of positioned themselves as Ethereum killers. We got Polkadot, we got Cardano, we got others. But a lot of the big challenges they face, I've talked about a lot in these streams, a lot on my videos. A lot of challenges they face are, one, network effects for sure. But the others are, developer tooling, developers, programming languages, things like that, right? So whenever you create a new blockchain that is supposed to deliver the same benefits of Ethereum, but do it better, you have a lot of challenges to overcome. You have to create the technology itself, you have to create the developer tools, and then you have to get the developers over there. So basically what Binance Smart Chain does is so these other chains have basically been inventing sort of their own new ways of doing that, and that presents a big challenge, which is you have to essentially teach people how to use new tools, get new people in there to do that, get them to use it, put it on the network. Binance Smart Chain basically just forked Ethereum, so everybody who's learned to develop Ethereum, which is where a majority of developers are in the blockchain space, they can just use everything they know, put it on Binance Smart Chain, and that's one of the reasons we've seen an explosion of apps, right, on that platform. You can basically write contracts to Solidity, put them on the network. People can move over really fast. You can just fork most of the apps that are on Ethereum right now, change some of the settings, and then you have an ecosystem of applications on an EVM-compatible chain like Binance Smart Chain. Same thing for users. They can just keep MetaMask installed, switch the network over to Binance Smart Chain, and they can use these applications just like the Ethereum dApps without too much new training, okay? So because it's that quote-unquote easy, that's not really easy, but it's a lot easier than like creating a brand new blockchain from scratch that works totally differently, training developers how to build applications for it, building the developer tools, getting the developers, and then also doing the same thing for your users. It's a lot easier to do what they're doing. So for that reason, it would not surprise me if we see another one of these become prominent. There already are others that exist. They're out there doing a very similar type of thing, EVM compatible chains that, make some short-term trade-offs in order to achieve this scalability. But it would not be surprised if we see another one pop up soon and rise up in the ranks before layer 2 scaling solutions really become a thing. So that being said, let's go on to layer 2. Because honestly, I think once layer 2 is widely adopted on Ethereum, well, I'll say this, it doesn't need any wide adoption. Once Uniswap has layer 2 on Ethereum, I think a lot of this is not really game over necessarily, but I think we're going to see a lot of interest wane in some of these alternatives. But one important thing has to happen, and I want to bring this up, and I want to give a shout out here to the Daily Gwei. So Daily Gwei is a daily newsletter on everything in the Ethereum ecosystem. Highly recommend you checking it out. From my buddy Anthony Sassano. But he's talking about scalability on Ethereum with layer 2 scaling solutions. And one really important thing that could really help with this is exchanges actually using layer 2 for user withdrawals. So why is this important? Well, whenever you use layer 2 on Ethereum, your funds basically have to move to layer 2. So if exchanges essentially become an on-ramp to Ethereum layer 2 without users having to make an extra step, that'll be huge for layer 2 adoption. Okay, so if we have sort of layer 2 technology and we let users from exchanges go directly to that layer 2 so they can start using these dApps, if they're using a common layer 2 paradigm, that'll be huge. Okay. The other thing is actually cutting down on the congestion of the Ethereum network itself. So if exchanges are using layer 2, we cut down on ETH2 congestion. That actually helps the underlying gas fee issue quite a bit. One of the reasons the Ethereum network is clogged and congested in the first place is because of exchange withdrawals. Not the only reason, but it's a factor. So I would love to see this type of thing happen. I would also love to see the other things that we're talking about in the Ethereum 2.0 roadmap, or not Ethereum 2.0, but the Ethereum roadmap ship very soon, like EIP 1559, which somebody mentioned in the chat earlier, and then also these layer 2 scaling solutions, which I still stand by. I think they're going to happen in 2021. I think they'll be here relatively soon on the grand scheme of things. Weeks, maybe a few months. It's hard to say. Nobody knows for sure. I'm actually trying to get more access to some of the teams that are integrating this. I've talked to a few of them, but would like to know more. So, if anybody's watching and, wants to give me more of the inside scoop on their layer 2 implementations, I'd be happy to chat and update everybody else who's watching. All right, so let's see if we got any questions here in the chat. The last thing is I want to give a plug. So for everybody who's watching who wants another coding video, I've got another one coming out today. So if you've been, are curious about how to get started, developing for blockchain, got a brand new coding tutorial coming out today. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, click that like button down below. I'm going to show you how to build a brand new application from scratch. So I'm super excited about this. We've been working really hard on it, and we're going to deliver it later today. So somebody says, how is tipping miners going to work with EIP? I'm assuming they mean EIP 1559. They also mentioned limiting transactions in each block and burning block. How is this going to affect the ETH price? So the biggest thing in there is that the fee with EIP 5059 is going to get split. Okay. So I'll explain that right now. Let me pull up my whiteboard so that I can explain it better with a visual. So everybody's watching and wants to know what this means. So let's look at a transaction fee. Okay, so let me just show you. So if I pull up MetaMask right here, this is MetaMask on a test network. So this is not connected to the main Ethereum network. This is not like a real wallet with 90 Ether in it. So don't get excited, right? But basically, if I send a transaction to MetaMask like this, right, and I put in an account, let me just do one. Hold on. I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'll just go to Etherscan and look at an account here. So this is a miner. I'm just going to copy their account. If I go on MetaMask, so if I send them that, and then I put in an account here, and then I say 1 ETH, and we see a transaction fee here. I click next. It'll say that to pay some extra amount, right? So basically, the whole idea there is that you have to pay a fee on top of the amount of Ether that you're sending. Now, in a transaction fee, that's broken down in EIP 5059. That fee gets broken down into two parts. So it gets broken down into the miner tip and then a network fee. Or two parts. I'm not exactly sure what the names technically are, but it's essentially in two parts. Okay. So this miner tip right here is what someone asked right about. Okay, so this is going to go to the miners, but part of the fee gets burnt. Okay, so basically part of the fee just disappears, and it actually reduces the amount of ETH in that transaction. It just goes away. So you can think about it like a network fee. So, or in the sense that it benefits people who hold Ethereum on the network. So if the ETH supply doesn't increase as much for that particular transaction, or if the ETH supply actually decreases during that particular transaction, then it's deflationary in that instance. So that being said, some people talk about how EIP 59, if there's enough network activity and it becomes really fast, like essentially if there's at periods of high network activity, that it could become deflationary for an extended period of time. So if network activity just stays on all the time, really busy, then it could be deflationary for the entire time that level of activity sustains. So I hope that explains what people are talking about. Somebody says base fee plus miner tip. Right, yeah. So that's better. So base fee plus miner tip. But that's the whole idea. The base fee is the part that gets burned. So I think about like a network fee, it's called the base fee. So yeah, thanks for the feedback in the comments there. That's what it's technically called in EIP 5059. Everybody, we'll answer one more question here, then we'll go ahead and wrap up for today. Shout out to Sensei, bootcamp student. Awesome, very cool. So somebody says, I'm a JavaScript dev, full stack. How long is the journey to become a blockchain dev? So it depends on how much experience you have in JavaScript, but I would think that you could pick up blockchain relatively quickly, probably in a matter of months. If you have experience, you have time on your hands, you're willing to be consistent. We use JavaScript a lot in blockchain development, especially on Ethereum, to write tests for smart contracts, to write user interfaces that talk to smart contracts. Solidity, the programming language for creating Ethereum smart contracts, looks a lot like JavaScript, so there's a lot of similarities. A lot of it's just understanding how blockchain works, how the proprietary programming languages for blockchain work. But if you're already a developer, I think you can pick it up pretty fast. The real test is just go check out that tutorial that I've got coming out later today, or check out any of the free tutorials on my homepage right now. And yeah, I think you'll get the idea. All right, everybody. So that's all I got for today. As always, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. That really helps these videos out so more people can learn about blockchain. If you like these and you're as excited about this technology as I am, how can you get started today? You can go to my YouTube homepage, find any of my free courses there. They're like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. And hey, you like those? You want to take the next step, or you want to take a massive shortcut entirely right now? I can show you how to become a blockchain master step by step from start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. Okay, you don't have to be an expert to get started today. I've helped people with zero programming experience become blockchain developers in a matter of months. All right, so that's all I've got. And until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.